Shalom, and welcome to Tov, the Jewish news channel. We have with us today Marc Zell, who is the chairman of Republicans International in Israel. Good morning, Marc. It's nice to have you here.
Good morning, Rochi.
U.S.-Israel relations. Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, recently, I think yesterday, made a statement that seemed a very powerful statement in favor of Israel continuing the war in Gaza, that the United States has no intention of stopping Israel from completing its mission to destroy Hamas. But how do you see it?
Well, this is a serious and difficult question. It's complicated. The United States, first of all, let me say, has supported Israel in very important ways, particularly in terms of supplying munitions that allow us to carry out the war against the Hamas in Gaza and also Hezbollah in the north. The United States has also provided military support against the Houthi rebels who are trying to interrupt and interdict international shipping in the Red Sea, which affects not only Israel, but Egypt and the world as a whole. And that's a good thing. The United States has also given, thus far, diplomatic support to Israel in the United Nations Security Council by vetoing the most recent resolution that has come up for a vote. What they're going to do, there's another one now that I understand is pending. Hopefully they'll also veto that. So I give the United States a lot of credit for that. But on the other hand, the United States administration, Biden administration, has often, from the very beginning, been talking out of two sides of its mouth. Okay, on the one hand, supporting for Israel, the statement that they've made from the very beginning is that the United States will back Israel to the full extent of allowing Israel to defend itself. Okay, that's great. But what they don't say, what they haven't really said, and when they do say it, they say it with conditions which I'll mention in a minute, is that they don't say go in and destroy the terrorist infrastructure in Gaza. President Trump has said that. The other Republican candidates, save one, have said that. Many people in the Congress have said that, primarily Republican. But the administration, when it says, like Blinken, as you mentioned, just said yesterday, we want to see Hamas removed. At the same time, what else do they say? They say the day after the war, we want to see the Palestinian Authority return to rule and administer Gaza. And they say, and they've said from the very beginning that the humanitarian needs of the Gazan population are extremely important and Israel has to take care. And they've also recently said that, I think Lloyd Austin or maybe Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, said Israel basically has until January 1st or early January to take care of this. Otherwise, it's got to bring an end to the war in Gaza. We all know that that's a physical and military impossibility. So here the Americans are laying down a set of rules that, on the one hand, they say finish Hamas. On the other hand, they want to tie our hands and literally prevent us from doing so. That doesn't make a lot of sense, and that's quite dangerous. So now, I, as a Republican volunteer here in Israel, can make the statements that, and to your viewers, that really lay out the situation as it actually exists. The Prime Minister of Israel and his government is not in that position to do so. They've got to kind of dance between the raindrops here in order to, one hand, not offend the United States and continue receiving American support in the ways we've discussed, but at the same time, setting out the basic principles of Israeli sovereignty and the national security needs of Israel and its people.
So the United States and the Israeli far left seem to be the only people in the world who are still supporting the two-state solution, because we know from polls conducted by Palestinians among the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria and in Gaza that they are opposed to a two-state solution or even a one-state solution. They want from the river to the sea. And the Israeli population, even those who may have in the past supported a two-state solution, now see that that is completely untenable, that there isn't really any difference between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. And in fact, the reason elections haven't been held in the Palestinian Authority for the past, 16 years, is because they know that Hamas would win those elections just as they won the elections in Gaza, as Israel warned would happen beforehand. So why are they still holding on to this untenable solution?
Well, it's, in Israel, we have this expression in Hebrew called the conceptia, the conception. It's kind of a mindset that governs the way we think about our region and our role in this area. It's not just the United States and the far left in Israel. I mean, yesterday, I just was reading that my friend Tzachi Hanegbi, who's the head of the Israeli National Security Council, did not disqualify or eliminate the possibility that the Palestinian Authority after the war could be brought back to administer Gaza. And he said, of course, that the Palestinian Authority would have to undergo comprehensive reforms, whatever that means. But the very idea, in light of what all you said, Ruchi, about the public opinion within the Palestinian community in Gaza and in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, the idea that in the short term, anyone would consider the possibility of putting any Palestinian Authority, PLO, whatever you want to call it, in charge of Gaza after we went through on October 7th is utter lunacy. It's just, and the people here in Israel understand it. Unfortunately, here I have to disagree with you partly about who's supporting the two-state solution around the world. It's not a small minority. I would say that the vast majority of the international community, both heads of state and the United Nations, support this idea of a two-state solution, continue to support this two-state solution for Israel, and the reason for that is, and I've heard one major proponent, a professor named John Mearsheimer. He was on a famous internet interview program just about a month ago. He explained their position very clearly. There's no other way. Why, in their view? Because it's impossible for Israel to defeat the Palestinian terror structure militarily. It will never happen. And therefore, the only possible solution in their mind is to have this two-state solution. Well, it's what Einstein called insanity, because when you keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again and thinking that the result is going to be different, that's a definition of insanity, according to Einstein, and he's absolutely right. That would apply in this case as well. Now, I'm not suggesting that the day after the war in Gaza is going to be an easy solution, but there are many, many possibilities, many permutations. The Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, has expressed, and I agree with him, that during the short term, medium term, and the foreseeable future, the only player that can be in charge of the security situation in the Gaza district is the Israeli army, the IDF. There's nobody else that's in a position to do that. That doesn't mean that Israel needs to be in charge of the day-to-day civil administration of the Gaza district. There are options that can involve the international community, the balanced, reasonable thinking Muslim community around the world. There are some examples of countries that fall into that category, and together with Israel, work out a situation whereby the civilian population of Gaza can be served, the national security interests of Israel can be promoted and protected, and the situation stabilized. Okay, it'll take a lot of creative thinking, a lot of courage, and a lot of money, frankly, also. And then there's also, in my mind, a lot of people here in Israel talking about it. What role will Israel itself have, from a civilian perspective, in the Gaza district? After all, until 2005, we had a highly successful civilian population in the Gush Katif villages in the Gaza district. They were an agronomic success, a miracle, quite honestly. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to return in some fashion to those areas where we were before 2005, to rebuild that for the benefit not only of Israel, but for the Gazan population itself. This is producing food and employment and financial opportunities. One final thing. When I was representing the United States government in the 1990s after the Oslo, I spent a lot of time in Gaza working on projects to help create the Gazan economy and uplift the situation, the economic and social situation of the community in Gaza. We had a lot of hopes at that time. Even the idea of turning Gaza into kind of a Singapore, Switzerland of the Middle East, without all the bureaucratic red tape that was at that time hamstringing the Israeli economy. Turns out that the Palestinians really weren't interested in that. The Palestinian national conscience is all focused on destruction of Israel and the Jews of this region. That's something we've learned over the years, and it's become quite obvious on October 7th. But there are ways. I mean, if over time, it worked in Germany after World War II. It worked in Japan after World War II. With the proper administration, the proper concept, the framework for thinking about how to move forward, I believe that this could work. But it will take time. It will take a lot of patience and, as I said, a lot of money.
Shalom to our viewers. Don't forget to like us on all your our various channels, Telegram, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Shalom.